Welcome back to the Wheel Brick. Today I'll be checking out the LEGO Technic tipping dump truck. This is set 42203. It has 462 pieces in it. It's rated 9 plus, and it retails for $50 in the United States. So let's get into it. So looking around the box, of course, we've got the side view here, and then we have the actual scale of the tire on the top, which is pretty usual in these Technic sets. And then if we push it around to the back, we of course see the tipping function right here on the big picture, and then we can see some of the other functions, which I will show once it's all built. So looking inside the box here, we have 4 numbered bags. We have a sticker sheet with a few stickers, not that many stickers, and then of course we have the instruction manual, and then we have some two bigger beams, Technic beams, and then we have 4 of the rear tires because these are a little thicker than the ones on the front, which I will show later on. So here is the completed model of this tipping dump truck. Side view, back view, another side view, and then of course the front view. So let's get into all the features. So starting up front here, we have the Hand of God steering, which I'll show in a second. And then we also have some lights here. And then we have a logo here that says MT, which means it's move and transport. And then we have an interior in here with a couple of seats and a steering wheel. And then moving down, of course, we have the open windshield. That's standard for Technic. We have a little emblem here that says truck. We have a nice brick-built grill instead of just a sticker grill. And then we have the headlights at the bottom here with the caution markings. And then the plate is actually the set number, which is 42203. And then it has LT at the beginning. Now, getting into the functions here, we have the Hand of God steering mechanism, which means I can turn the wheels from this. The steering does not move, unfortunately, but in a scale like this, they don't usually do that. So you just have the knob on the roof. And if you don't want the knob, if you're displaying it, it can easily be removed. And then you can go ahead and put it right back like that. And then the doors do open on either side. They're just really basic opening. There's not really anything fancy about them, but they do give more functionality to the dump truck. Go ahead and close this up here. And then moving on to the side, the main function of this set is the dump mechanism for the dump truck. You twist this little knob here, which what's really interesting because I will show here in a second, but since this doesn't really have a drivetrain, this goes all the way through. And so you have a knob on both sides. So you can theoretically turn both sides at the same time. But let's go ahead and get this into dumping position. All right, let's move on to the main function of this set, and that's the dump bed. You can see how I kind of, with my finger, this is actually just controlled by gravity. So when you open this up, this will automatically come out with gravity. So we will turn this knob here, and there's a knob on either side to make the bed go up. And it takes a little bit because of the way the gear ratios are. And we have maxed it out, pretty much maxed this out. And then this is just flapping with gravity in there. And now we can get a better look at the dumping mechanism. There's this little, well, I guess this piece here that's this kind of hydraulic looking piece that has some gears in there. And then that's connected to a rod that goes through. And because there's no drivetrain, no engine in this, that's what allows it to be on either side. Because if you had a drive shaft in here, you wouldn't be able to do that without making some serious adjustments to this. So let's go ahead and put this back down. And there we go. It's now back in the down position. So what I was saying before that this has no engine in it, this is the underneath of this set. And it's pretty basic. You have just the Hand of God steering and then the dumping mechanism. And that's a point I want to go into next here, is that the criticism on this set in particular, because a lot of people were mad because there wasn't like a working engine or there wasn't like a tilting cab mechanism. And the best way to show that is my recently acquired FMX truck. I will have a full review, take a look at this soon. But this truck here, this of course is pretty similar in size. This one's a little bit smaller, but then again, this is a bigger type of truck. It's a big construction truck. But if I were to go over into here, I would pop this mechanism and then lift the cab forward. This does not have that, and so you cannot lift it forward, and there is not a working engine like this has. And you can see that when I go back and forth, the engine will move up and down. This does not have that. And a lot of people were like, well, they should have like an engine or something like that. But I feel like if each Technic thing had an engine in it, it would get old after a while. So it's a nice little change in here, and it makes it a lot more simplified. Does it justify the price? We'll have to find that out here in a little bit. So talking about the size here, this brings me to why people are kind of mad about this on price. Because if you see about the old Mack garbage truck here, this was priced at $32.99 in the US, and it had about 100 more pieces. And people are like, oh, it should have costed less. Well, if you look here, this is quite a bit smaller than this is. This is a lot bigger than this is. This has a lot of smaller parts, and it's actually priced like per part. So this uses bigger parts, so bigger parts are going to have a bigger price. This has smaller parts are going to have a smaller price. So it's really not outrageous for $50, as you may think. It's about $15 or so more than this is. But for this being at a smaller scale and this is at a bigger scale, practically you could fit this in the bed or in the dump part of the dump truck. And just to show how small this is, like, I think that this priced at $32.99 is fine, and this priced at $50 is fine because it is bigger. Now, if this thing was about this size and they priced it at $50, then I'd have a problem with it. But since it's at this scale, I don't have a problem with it. Another thing people were kind of not so sure on is because this has fewer functions than this does. This only has a tipping bed and then the hand of God steering and then the opening doors. Well, if you see here, this one it has opening doors. It's not really meant to open. This one here has the back dump thing, and then it also has a thing you get the garbage thing with, and it's got an opening thing on the back. But that's more like for a garbage truck, there obviously will be more functions for a garbage truck. For a dump truck, it's just simply to put dirt in it or rocks or something like that, and then haul it to another spot and then dump it. There's not a lot to it. Which, speaking of which, let's load this up and see what kind of load it can take. So what kind of load can this dump truck hold? Well, let's find out. I literally just got this set done about 5-10 minutes ago, and I have a jar of rocks here. Yes, I'm about ready to completely destroy this nice finish in here. We're going to try this first rock. This is a pretty good sized rock, so let's go ahead and put it in there. We need to turn this counterclockwise and see if it'll dump. And it takes a little bit longer when you have a load like that. And with the way I don't think it'll fit though. Like that's the bad thing about this. This door is a little too small for this rock to fit through here. But technically, yes, it does make it so it fits. But if you put it up here, you can of course see that it was too much weight. You can have more weight on the back and not a bunch of weight on the front. Just go and put that back down and try some of these smaller rocks. We're going to pick some rocks out of here. We're going to put some in here. We're going to drop some in there. We'll just dump the whole thing in there. We got a nice thing of rocks in there. Let's see if it'll do it. So we got to go counterclockwise. And no, it does not. Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Well, it kind of maxed out there. So let's take some of these rocks and go ahead and just kind of push them out. And then push them towards the back and see if it'll dump now. And then you can see all the rocks have been dumped. So my little theory on this, it's great. I'm going to actually try this out with some dirt and see if some dirt will go in there and fit without like clicking the gears on it and putting too much stress on the gears. This is kind of an extreme example with a bunch of rocks, but I wanted to kind of show like what this was capable of. So what are my finishing thoughts on this? I think this thing is great for a dump truck. If you just put like little Lego pieces in there and maybe a little bit of sand or dirt. But if you put like big rocks like I did, it's not going to work out the way you want it to work out. I think it would work a lot better if they had a stronger bed mechanism. Overall, the design looks great. I like the modern looking design. The opening doors, of course, is a lot more sleek. There was a dump truck back in 2005 that was blue. It was kind of a scale like this is, but it wasn't like good looking. It was more about function than it is about looks here. It will actually fit great with your other Technic 2025 sets, which is very, very nice to see. You have the Hand of God steering, which works very, very, very well. And then, of course, you have the dumping bed, which also works pretty decently well. For the price of $50, I think it could have been priced around $45, but for $50, especially in the US with the tariffs coming on, I think this is a really, really good buy. I think you need to go out and buy this if you wanted a dump truck, if you're looking for a dump truck, like a bigger style dump truck. Or if a kid likes this, which they probably will, if they like dump trucks, definitely get it for them. I think they'll have a lot of fun with this, especially if they had another set like an excavator with this. It's not too difficult to build either. So let me know what you think. Put them down in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to The Wheel Brick. Follow The Wheel Brick on Instagram, and I will see you next video.